Welcome to Amethyst Talks. I am Amethyst Brooks, and today is November 28th, 2020. Today I have Jay joining me. How are you doing today, Jay?
Good, how are you?
Good. I'm so glad to have you on the podcast.
Good to be here.
Good to be here. Awesome. So, I wanted your perspective on this COVID-19 vaccine that should be coming out in what I've heard late spring, early summer. What is your take on that?
I wouldn't take it. I wouldn't be one of the first ones to take it. I haven't taken a flu shot in probably 10 years.
Now, why is that?
Because I haven't had the flu. I feel like you don't need to take something that you're not for sure what the side effects are. I'm not a lab rat. That's not something I would be interested in taking.
So you think people who are going to sign up for the COVID-19 vaccine are lab rats? Is that what you think?
For a certain extent, yeah. There's trial and errors on every medicine that you take. There's always different side effects for anything that you take.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you on that. But someone did say they're going to be offering $1,500 for anyone who signs up for the vaccine. So, I mean, some people are in hard situations right now. They would take that money.
Yeah, this is true, and that $1,500 could be used for a funeral cost as well.
Oh God. Well, I mean, at least you straight up and honest with it, Jay. But I mean, if it's required, that we unfortunately won't have no choice. What would you do if your job said you have to take that shot and you tell them no?
You always have a choice, no matter, what the stipulations or consequences may be. So somebody can't make you take a vaccine if you don't want to. You can use religious purposes not to take vaccines. There's always opportunity to not be able to take those type of vaccines.
I don't know. I think they're not gonna let you use the religious purpose for that. I mean,
well, that's just something we'll just have to deal with when the time comes. But until then,
so if your job said, Jay, you better take that vaccine or you're fired.
I would say, well, before you fired me, I quit.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, that's going to unfortunately be a lot of people. I mean,
yeah.
Now, me, depends on what job I had at the time. Because, I'm waiting on a couple things to finally work themselves out. But unfortunately, the job I'm going to, I already had to take vaccinations anyway. So I might be one of those guinea pigs.
For COVID? So you wouldn't mind taking a vaccine for COVID?
If I have to, what can I do about it? I would like that $1,500 though, because if you're gonna be promising it and you making me take it anyway, then I want the $1,500. It's sad. I mean, I wouldn't preferably want to be a guinea pig, so I would like the first couple hundred people to try it and see what happens to them. But but about time it became a requirement. I mean, you got to do what you got to do. You got to work to live, you know?
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah. It's sad because it wouldn't have been this bad, Jay, if people had worn their masks and they think it's a running joke. I just went in the store and no one had a mask on. They don't take it seriously. They're pulling it under their nose.
Well, when you have a leader of a country or a commander-in-chief over the people, it's supposed to be for the people, letting everyone know that it's okay not to wear a mask or acting like COVID isn't a serious situation or a pandemic, then people feel more comfortable to have those type of freedoms of not doing things that should be required.
Oh, so you saying it's our almost former president's fault?
Our current president as of, early January.
Yeah.
But, for the most part, yeah, he has rallies and everything else where there's tens of thousands of people that don't wear masks. And they're all congregated in one specific small area. And then you look at those numbers later on, and the majority of those people, one person gets COVID and it spreads like wildfire in certain areas.
No, it is true. It is true. It's sad. I mean, but I don't agree with them not wearing masks. But I do also kind of understand some of their perspectives when they're saying, am I going to wear the mask for the rest of my life? Which could be selfish, but at the same time, like, if your quality of living is terminated, what is the point of surviving? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand what you mean by that.
But you got to be protective of your older people here,
exactly.
and some younger people who have health issues and children. So
yeah, which is very true.
I mean, honestly, I got approached by a guy, and he was cursing me out and stuff about God knows what. This tends to happen to me a lot, but he was cursing me out, and he told me. I said, well, why don't you have a mask on? And he pulled this wrinkled up piece of paper he had in his pocket and said, oh, well, I have a medical reason for not wearing a mask. And I'm thinking, well, I think by the way you smell, it smells like you smoke. So I'm trying to figure out if that's really what you're saying, or are you just taking a piece of paper out showing everybody?
Yeah, you never know when it comes
ridiculous.
to that. Yeah, it is. And a lot of those type of people where you have underlying issues, and a lot of those people that have those type of notes and stuff from doctors are ones that suffer from respiratory problems such as asthma, and they say that it affects their breathing wearing a mask. But if you got COVID, you would be more than likely than the average person to have, extreme measures as far as maybe even passing away because of those underlying issues. So it would be more safe to wear a mask than to wait till you got it and be hooked up to a ventilator.
Exactly. No, you're right. You're right. But it's unfortunate that this is even going on to begin with. I don't know how it got so out of hand, but it did. And now we're unfortunately living the repercussions of it. Oh man, that brings me to another question for you, Jay. The question I have for you is, with all these statistics displayed on the news, do you really believe it's this many people possibly passing away, becoming infected, all this stuff that's being displayed on CNN and Fox? Do you believe that? Do you believe all this is true?
I believe once you look at, your certain group of friends or loved ones or family members that has suffered from COVID and the coronavirus, that yes, it is true, and it's been took lightly when it should be, something that should be taken way more seriously. I've had friends that have lost their loved ones, their first cousins. I've had people that I've worked with where I hear their stories about their great uncles or great aunts and their grandparents, passing away because of this virus. So it's something that I do believe, and I wouldn't take any chances on, being around too many people or, not taking the right protocols in order to get this thing under control.
No doubt the COVID's real. No, I hear you on that. But do you think it's this many people really getting infected?
I think it's a lot of people. Maybe the numbers are off, but I don't think it would be the numbers are so off that it's just non-valid. I feel as though that, those numbers are put out for a reason. And you never know when it comes to health professionals or organizations what they might write off for COVID to get extra, government assistance on those certain aspects. All you can do is hope that they're being truthful, but not all people probably are.
Yeah, well, since you mentioned that, that's exactly what I'm kind of hinting at is I was told, I've also heard on the news that if anyone passes away during this time that COVID is going around, they can technically say the death was caused by COVID-19. That's what worries me about the numbers, which is something that we definitely need seriously right now is truth in the numbers. We're trying to see how long it's going to take to recover. And if I don't have accurate data on that, I mean, how are we supposed to get some kind of estimate on return of when we can possibly go back to normal if you're not giving me true stats? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and that's going to politicians too, on making decisions.
I understand what your point is that you're making, but at the end result, there is a life before COVID and there's going to be a life after COVID, but we determine what kind of life that may be. and the procedures that are put in place as far as wearing masks and different protocols to keep us safe is something that we need to be held accountable. And then after that happens, where we are following those protocols and everybody is, then we'll see what life is after that. What is the next step after that? But first we have to make that first step and take it serious enough where we're able to make that next jump.
No, I get what you're. I definitely agree with you on that. I definitely do agree with you. It's just, I honestly, which is something I mentioned earlier on one of my other podcasts, life for people who just graduated college or just going back to college or going back for their masters. Right now, this is such an unsure time, and it would cause a bit of depression. And a lot of people our age are even older people, they're really depressed right now. They don't know what's going to happen. They've lost their 401ks, or some lost their jobs permanently. Their company went under completely. And then you have us here, and we're thinking, wow, when will things be what we were promised when we started college? And what we were promised was a chance on a great opportunity. And right now, I just don't see any opportunities. But not to make you mad, Jay, but
no, it's not a thing. Like, luckily my profession hasn't been, tested to that extent. Yeah, we've had to deal with a lot of protocols and stuff like that are new, but as far as it changing, yeah, it's COVID. Like, the way this pandemic is, like, it's going to change your well-being, it's going to change your life, but this will make people appreciate the little things a lot more that they had before COVID, such as just being able to be around your family and friends in a large capacity and not being able to take those things for granted. One thing that I don't get caught up in is, the social media and the different news outlets that are always preaching negativity. The way I look at things is I'm looking for a resolution, something that is going to help, future generations not get to this point. If this could have been, speculated or nipped in the bud a lot sooner, we wouldn't be dealing with this pandemic right now. It would be under control enough where we could still have a so-called normal life. So this is something that you just have to work through, and you can't get caught up in all the negativity, and you got to just look for the future.
Yeah. No, and that's a positive outlook. And you're one in a few, because a lot of people are depressed right now, but for you to continue to have that positive outlook is great, and that shows hope, that there's still hope for us at this time. And that's, at this point, that's all we can ask for, to be honest. Well, one thing I do want to also mention, Jay, is how did it feel having a holiday? Because Thanksgiving just passed. How did it feel having a holiday and preparing for celebration for Christmas when you can't even see all of your family? How did that feel for you?
It's a lot different, and you have to take different, steps and follow guidelines to be able to do that. Personally, I quarantined for 2 weeks before I came home just because, I have a grandmother that is a severe diabetic and, struggles with underlying health issues. So I didn't want to put her life in jeopardy. So that's why I decided to quarantine before I came home, just to be able to see as many family members as I could. And, it's give and take. You don't get to see a lot of friends and stuff like that I normally get to see. But I was just glad that I was able to visit my, close family and be able to sit here and talk to you right now, just because everything's not promised. Tomorrow's not promised. So being able to have an opportunity and spend it with your family, we tend to take that for granted. Well, this pandemic has showed us otherwise, that this stuff isn't promised, and you should take full advantage of family members and just being able to fellowship with one another.
All right, Jay. So I wanted to ask you another question, actually. So how do you feel that a lot of people from non-people of color, I'll just say that, are saying that Black and Latino groups are actually being targeted to take the vaccine?
Well, I would say that usually minorities are more likely to be in poverty-stricken areas, so they're right up under each other. So if one person in a community that is, so close, I feel like a lot of those people would be more likely to get COVID just because they're not spread out. They're all in compacted areas. So I could see the reasoning why they would be the first ones to, take a vaccination. But that's not something that, I would insist people on doing.
I mean, I can see how you're saying they would be targeted because of the close proximity. But what's frustrating to me is that they're also the same people who are saying that about the vaccine. They're also saying that blacks and Latinos predominantly carried the COVID-19. They're saying, I've heard a lot of people say they did not want to wait on people of color because they assumed that they most likely would have COVID-19. And the ironic part, at least to me, is that there was one female who went into a nail salon and she was asked to leave until she came back with a better mask because of COVID-19. But then a white female came into that same nail salon with no mask and was seated immediately. So, unfortunately, these prejudices do exist. And to assume that for some reason blacks and Latinos carry the virus more than any other race, that's pretty upsetting. Now, I can't lie, they do say that the stats are higher in lower income communities, which happen to house blacks and Latinos. But to automatically assume we're the ones carrying it is an insult in itself. And if anything, it's kind of their fault that these people are in those kind of areas and in such close proximity, because don't tell me there wasn't ways to spread them out, at least for the time being. So how do you feel about that?
I feel as though like these type of issues, it has nothing to do with what's going on as far as the coronavirus or anything of that magnitude. This is underlying issues that we've had as a nation. And this isn't just it's more than that. These are stereotypes that have been, as long as I can remember as a kid. When something bad happens, somebody always wants a finger to point at. But this, coronavirus, wherever it began at, where I believe it started from China or somewhere overseas, I know very few black people that travel overseas. So I don't know why you would target Latinos or African Americans and say that they're the ones carrying the virus. Well, they might have the virus now or more likely to get it because of where they're located, but it's nothing that we brought over from overseas, I don't believe, because we don't have the funds to travel overseas, a lot of minorities. Once we get somewhere, we usually stay there for a long period of time. Generations on generations, to be exact, stay in certain areas for, ever. They don't usually migrate to different areas.
Right. No, and that would be something that I would say to their face if ever confronted with them.
Yeah.
But
and the whole thing about the nail salon, that's something that we've dealt with. I've seen, people walk into places without t-shirts on, and I've seen people get kicked out of places for sagging their pants. So it's just on who you don't get along with or who you want to pick at, or if you're prejudiced or if you're racist. Those are all things that have been going on. It's way longer than a pandemic or, a virus.
Exactly. And so, just to clarify one more time, Jay, it's a no for the vaccine for you, right?
Yes, it would have to be dire needs for me to take a vaccine like that, in which, like I said, I wouldn't be one of the first. If I had to take it, I would be probably one of the last.
The sad thing is, after you take the vaccine, they're saying you would carry COVID with you for a couple weeks afterwards.
Yeah, and that's not something that I would want to do.
And when I say they're saying, I'm referring to MSNBC and CNN. Just to throw that out there.
Okay.
All right. Well, I'm glad to hear someone else's perspective on this, especially from the opposite sex, because sometimes they feel as though usually women think alike. No, we don't. But hey, for this specific podcast, I'm glad you joined me, Jay. It's a pleasure to have you, and I expect you to be on one more of my another one of my podcasts. Okay.
Yeah, it was fun, and I appreciate you asking me to do this. It was a good time.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you guys for joining today. Remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel at Amethyst Talks. Follow me on Twitter at Amethyst B Talks, and hit follow on this podcast. New podcasts are every Saturday by 4 p.m. Eastern. Thank you, guys.